And we are on.
Okay, can I start?
Yes, you can start. It's up to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark, and welcome to everybody. I hope that all of you had a very good Sunday yesterday, enjoying the time with the family and especially with the moms. It's a pity that we are still facing this pandemic, and in most parts of the world, we couldn't share as usual with our moms, the ones who have it, and or with the ladies in the family that are moms. But in general, we 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 had a very good day. I'm sure sharing virtual hugs and virtual kisses. Saying that, we will start this second part of the introduction to the cooperation principles in software development. And as I told you, this second part will not be longer than the first one. I'm sure of that because we have another meeting after, and also because we want to give some time for questions and comments and suggestion based on the further work we have to do in our project with these principles. Okay. Therefore, we will concentrate to make a short summary of the first part we did last Friday. Then we will have the most important part of this presentation today, which is the tools for cooperation and collaboration in software engineering. Then, as I promised, we will have some opportunity to talk about relationships of the cooperation and collaboration in software engineering with other computer science movements and fields. And at the end, I will finish with some assignments for future work in a LIMF project software engineer philosophy, taking into account that we will have some sessions in a few weeks dedicated completely to implement the new knowledge or to implement the knowledge we are talking about during these sessions of the webinars. And at the end, some kind of conclusions. I put a question mark because I don't consider that it is possible right now give some conclusions. It's more some ideas, general ideas to share and to talk about during the whole webinars and the whole work we are doing in the project. As a summary of our talk last Friday, I want to remark a few ideas. First of all, remember that we stated that to talk about cooperation and collaboration in software engineering, we have three main approaches. On time, the first one was the collaborative software engineering development. The second one was the distributed software engineering. And the last one, the more near on time, is the global software engineering approach. And that all those way to talk about cooperation and collaboration in software development have a lot of things in common, some little differences between them, but in most of the cases they gave to the software engineering international community some of the principles we are facing nowadays in the 21st century software engineering approach. We can call it this way. In comparison with the software engineering approach we used in the last century, or most of the time of the last century. The second main idea of the first part of this presentation was that the cooperation and the collaboration in software development is organized in three levels. In the base are the team, then we have the middle level, which is the company, and the bottom level, it's excuse me, the top level is precisely the country level, and for that reason, it is also important to remind that we talk about some challenges we have to face at those levels: organizational, temporal, sociocultural, cognitive and educational, geographical, political, and economical, and that those challenges, when you go up in this structure, in those levels of cooperation and collaboration, increased the impact of those challenges. And also that those challenges, we can also group them in two main levels. The kernel of those challenges can be called as critical challenges, and this group is in all the level of the cooperation and collaboration in software development. You can have challenges of communication, knowledge sharing and transfer, coordination, linguistic issues, project and process management, tool management, software architecture and hardware configuration at the team level. You can also have it at the company level, and you will have it for sure at the country level. The wrapping challenges, as I explained last Friday, it doesn't mean that you cannot have it at a certain level, but not all of them will be at the three levels. Okay, therefore you can find some of these wrapping challenges on each level, and in another level you can not look at it. But okay, the final summary, the final idea of the last presentation was precisely that we can have cooperation and collaboration in software engineering not only on the modeling, which is usually what we do in software engineering. We need also, and it is really important, to have cooperation and collaboration during all the procedure of software engineering, and also taking into account or based in some technologies that will help to really have cooperation and collaboration. That was the four main ideas, the four main conclusions of the presentation of last Friday. Then we can go directly now to the tools for cooperation and collaboration in software development, and I wanted to share a very good paper, scientific paper. It doesn't matter that this paper has 11 years old. It's not the problem, because the classification did it on this paper is really good and can show very well which are the tools and which are the main groups of tools we can use for cooperation and collaboration in software engineering. Because usually we concentrate only, or most of the time, we concentrate only in three of those groups, as we will see based on the explanation of each group of technologies. Okay? Then I show you here how to access this scientific paper. However, I can put it on the Moodle platform. For sure, I will do it with the presentations and the video of these two talks, the last Friday and the talk of today. And I will share it also this paper and maybe some other papers that you can give a look to go deeper in cooperation and collaboration in software development. But as you can see in this slide, we have 7 main groups of technologies for cooperation in software development. We have the group of version control system, we have the group of trackers, we have the modelers, we have the build tools, we have the knowledge centers, we have the communications tools, and we have the Web 2.0 applications group. Those are the main groups where we can find the cooperation and collaboration tools for software development. Let's go directly to the first group, which is the version control system. What is the version control system? And I hope that this is the first most used group of tool in software engineering you already know, because it is really usual in software engineering to control all the changes we can make and we can have, not only in the product, only in the documentation and in all of the aspects we manage during the software engineering process. That's the reason why version control system is precisely a category of software tools that record change made to one file or a set of files. Okay? Because it is precisely for keeping track of modifications, not only in the code, but mainly in the code. And the goal to use this kind of tools is precisely to be able at some time to recover one specific version that we had in advance or that we have before, and be able to go back in case we detected any error, any fault, and we need to go back on time. That's the reason of the use of this kind of tools. It is well known, but I will show on each group some of the applications we can use, but from the free and open source software group of tools. Because regularly we use private tools, and as you know, in our network we are encouraged to use free and open source software. And in this case, I want to remind or to share that we have a very good suite, which is Git. And as Frederick told us in the second of his talks, for sure Rudy will talk about GitLab during his presentations, maybe next Wednesday or maybe next Monday. But for sure he will talk about GitLab. It's one of the applications part of the Git suite. But it is really important that if you don't know what Git is, and if you never worked with Git suite or any of the applications being part of the Git suite, you will go and give a look at it and start using Git for your software development task. That's one of the most known all over the world application. It's really good. It do a lot of things. And it is not only a suite for virtual control system, it is also a suite with another applications to share and to precisely do version control, not only in the code, also in the documents and in the other artifacts we use in software engineering. The second group of tools are the trackers. The trackers, it is also a very well-known group of cooperation and collaboration in software engineering tools, but it's these kind of tools are to manage some of the defects or changes, or to request support from the users and also from other developers of the community. And therefore, we usually call this way of track that we track in the form of tickets, because users, developers, but we can say users in general, when they are interacting with the new applications, sharing openly, they encounter faults, they encounter defects, they encounter something that they don't like, or something that they think it could be improved, and therefore they can give an alert to the development team. And the way to do those alerts, it's doing a ticket. And this ticket, it's directly received by the manager in the software development team. It is by the support team. And this is a way to keep a record of all the tickets that the new product has. And therefore, we can work easier, and we can know the way we have to follow to solve all the tickets we receive. And the good news of this kind of tools is precisely that all the tickets are in the same database, and therefore everybody can access to this tickets database over the web. And therefore it doesn't matter where you are geographically, you can access the tickets database, and then you can be part of the solution also. And one very good application belonging to this group of tools is precisely Redmine. Redmine is also a free and open source software solution that do these kind of things. It's not an application used everywhere, but I can assure you that it is used in all the continents. And if a software team want to use a free and open source software solution also for application of the principles of this philosophy, which is actually really good, and it's the goal of our project, that is a very good option to use. The third group of application, it's the build tools. The build tools is what we usually call repositories. And these repositories are different from the other ones to storage, for example, files or source code. It's mainly to manage the workflows of our projects. Because as one of the challenges I mentioned in my last talk, it is the cooperation, one of the most important challenges we have to face in the critical challenges group during the cooperation and collaboration in software development. Therefore, to create a workflow and to be able to track where is the project in the workflow at different levels, it is really important to be able to work with a tool like the ones belonging to this group. And one of the examples is precisely Gradle, which is a free and open source software that do this kind of work. And for that reason, you can manage in the workflow the regular artifacts that we use in software engineering. That is, you can connect these workflows with the input information any of the activity needs, and at the same time with the expected information you want to have it at the end. And this application will control if you have all the information together, not only the way you accomplish the workflow, also in which exactly step of the workflow it's any file, document, or artifact in general. Therefore, you can say that it is a really good application. It is also web-based application, and you will have dashboard to will show you all the time the status of current and past bills. Therefore, you can also manage that, and you can also make decisions about it. And for that reason, this application or this kind of application will help everybody to improve the management of the software development project. Okay. The next group, it's for me the most known application group on software engineering. We use it very often, and we use it since we are at universities receiving the undergraduate studies and preparation, and then we use regularly every day on our software engineering work. And this group is the modelers. Unfortunately, we are accustomed, we don't have the culture to use modelers from the free and open source software group of tools. We regularly use private applications, which are actually applications that we have to pay for. And as Frederick says, we are in Cuba most of the time not aware that we can do that because of the blockade. But if we don't have the blockade, we will have a lot of troubles because we use a lot private applications without taking into account or without taking too much attention to the consequences of the use of private applications. And that's the reason why for modeling in software engineering, I want to give you two examples of very good free and open source software applications for modeling in software engineering. There is Umbrella, which is known all over the world and have a very huge community of developers and also a very huge community of users. It's also an application that has some knowledge centers, as we will see in another category, where you can find study cases, where you can find diagrams, where you can find databases of diagrams, and you can find also databases of scripts and a lot of things you can use. And Omelette, which is also a free and open software solution, but you can see that it's based on UML, Unified Modeling Language, as Umbrella, which is the most used modeling language in software engineering nowadays, since the beginning of this century. And with this application, we can do the same we do with the private application. And the main difference is exactly that we don't have to pay for the application, but most important, we can share with another developers and we can collaborate in software engineering modeling. And for that reason, I encourage all of you, if you have not news about those applications, to give a look and to try to test it. because they are really good. You can download it without any problem, and you can install it on your computers. It doesn't matter if you have Windows, Mac, or Linux. It is possible for any operating system, or at least for these three operating system. And in the Linux case, it will work both of them in a lot of distribution with little changes in the installation process. The other group of applications is, as I told a few minutes before, the knowledge centers. And you can imagine, or you can think, that the knowledge center, it's only for education, but precisely during a project management procedure, and also during software engineering, we need to train, we need to teach, we need to do some kind of education to the newcomers, and also even when we are uh, software developers with a very good experience in software developing, we are learning all the time, and at the same time we need to do some kind of knowledge management inside the software project, letting everybody to have as much as information as possible to do a better work and to go to the final output as easiest as possible. Okay? And therefore, there is a category between the cooperation and collaboration in software development that we call knowledge centers. Knowledge centers is basically content management systems, okay, what you usually call CMS, that it is precisely for the things that the content management system is, for sharing explicit and tacit knowledge on the web. And taking into account that it is on the web, you can go without any problem. It doesn't matter where you are. And you can access knowledge resources, any knowledge resources. And also, you can use knowledge centers as a tool to support trainings and the evaluation, which is also really important, of how every team member grows for a new and more complex task. For example, Frederick was explaining how newcomers on free and open source software communities increased the complexity of the task they have to do. And these knowledge centers are a very good way not only to train, also to be able to make evaluations if this newcomer is ready for a new task, or also to put this newcomer in contact with an expert or with a group and experts, and be able to learn faster and to improve the learning of this newcomer. Therefore, knowledge centers are really important in software engineering. And most of the time we forget these kind of things, because most of the time we only concentrate in software development, and we don't think in how people learn and how the knowledge is managed inside the project. And the most known application in this case is one that we use very much, which is Moodle. And Moodle platform is not the only one. I use this example precisely because it's the one we use in our project. But it's only to show that Moodle can serve to our project not only as an output technology we are giving to the network or to the universities. It's also a technology and a tool, to be more precise in my talking, a tool that we can also use for software development. And therefore, we need to increase the way we use Moodle to share knowledge and to share resources. The communication tools, which is a very large group of tools, it is something that we are accustomed to use in social dynamics, but it is nowadays for teleworking, taking into account that we can be on different geographic places all over the world. It is really important to keep synchronous and asynchronous communication between the team members. And it's only uh, a group of software tools that it is not exclusive for software engineering. And it's really a group of technologies, a group of tools, a group of software that we brought from social life and we use it for working because we realized that this application it doesn't have to be only for fun and for communicating in our families and personal life. It can be very helpful to communicate synchronous and asynchronous with our colleagues to collaborate in the accomplishment of some task. And one example, if precisely the one we are using right now, Jigsaw Meet, which is a video conferencing tool. It's part of this group of tools. And as you see, we can share presentation, we can share also content, we can talk between us, we can record our video conferencing, we can do a lot of things precisely to make it available later to the other team members on the knowledge centers applications. Okay, part of these tools are email, chat, blog, voice over IP, instant messaging, online edition, for example, which is one of the most used nowadays tools for for teleworking. Unfortunately, there are some complaints about online edition because of the difficulties when too much people are participating in the edition of one resource and they cannot follow as quick as the changes are made, and this interfere the way they can really give some inputs to the improvement of the resource. That one of the most declared complaints of this kind of applications, but for sure in a few years we will have a more good workflow for online edition of the document if we are working online and if we are working synchronously. Okay, because when you work in an asynchronous manner, it doesn't it doesn't matter because you will see the change after someone else did it, or someone else will see your changes after you did it. But if everybody is working in a synchronous way, it is really difficult that you can make a very good management of the online edition. But okay, it is part of this communication tools, and it is precisely to encourage cooperation and collaboration, not only in software development. That is also some of the groups of tools coming from social life, from social context, okay, that we brought for the work context. And at the end, there are also another social group of tools, which is the Web 2.0 applications that we use to make user contributions, rich interactions, and community building. And precisely these kind of applications encourage and improve the way we connect with another professionals in the same field we are working. The most well-known application in this group is LinkedIn, which is very famous. Okay, but unfortunately, LinkedIn, you can only access a few features of the application for free. If you want to really use the very strong features of the application, you have to pay for it. And of course, it is not free and open source software solution. It is only free some basic features of the applications and not really the best one of the features of the application. But in the contrary, you can have another applications. For example, a similar to LinkedIn is Join App, which is actually an application that has a mobile branch of this application that you can have it on your mobile device, and also you can have it on the web. And it is quite similar to LinkedIn and do the same things that regularly we use in this kind of application. We have a profile, we shared our expertise, our knowledge, we share our interest, we decided to which group we want to be part of, and then you can find some other peoples of the same interest of you, and the applications also will suggest you some other groups that are in the same fields or in the same interest you want to be part of. And also, there is a very well-known application, which is WordPress, which is a blogging platform mainly. It is really a content management system as Moodle, but in the use of this application, people go deeper on the blog and the software development way, and therefore WordPress is specialized precisely in blogging, and therefore you can use this to share knowledge with another team members and also to give your experiences to everybody and to share your knowledge, to share your experiences, and you will receive a feedback from the community. It doesn't matter if it is the project community only or the international community. And as every application of this kind, you will interact. Therefore, I show you the way that the paper, the scientific paper I mentioned, will work. You can give a deeper look to this table when you have the paper on Moodle, and you can see that you have what we call the collaborative development environment, CDE. You will have 7 proposals, and then you will have in this 8 proposals really, then you will have which kind of groups, tools each of these proposals have applications for. And this way you can use it to select which is the most important to use. But I'm only advising you that in this case, the CDE that it is mentioned in the paper are not completely free and open source software. I encourage you, when you review the paper, to take into account that the applications they are suggesting not all the time are free and open software solutions. Therefore, I suggested in most of the cases new free and open source software solutions you can really use if you want to keep in a free and open source software philosophy context. Okay? Well, collaboration and cooperation in software development also are related with another 2 movements in computer science. The first one, as you have noticed during my 2 talks, is the free and open source software philosophy or movement in this case. precisely because the cooperation and collaboration shared a lot of the principles of free and open source software philosophy. I put it there. Cooperation and collaboration in software development. It's also sharing with the free and open source software movement, participating in a community, the transparency for easier trouble solutions, the use of open standard source code, the decentralization, the shared tools and resources, the openness, and also the characteristic to be global, which is one of the most important aspects of cooperation and collaboration in software development. And when you give a deeper look to the two talks of Professor Frédéric Costière, you will now understand that precisely that's the way free and open source software philosophy are now very deep and are now getting inside the regular software engineering philosophy all over the world. It doesn't matter if it is private or no. Okay, it is going in very hard in the software engineering principles of the current century. And that's the reason a few decades ago appeared another movement, we can say, which is DevOps. And you will have two talks about DevOps this week and the next one with Rudy. And he will for sure mention some of these principles you are seeing right now. And those are also principles shared with the 21st century software engineering philosophy. Because DevOps encourage collaboration environments, DevOps share responsibility, it is one of the principles, promote continuous improvement, promote the use of computerized solutions. Okay, therefore they say that they computerize almost everything. It's only very small group of things that DevOps don't have computerized already. DevOps embrace failure and learn from it. This is one of the principles of this movement. And also they apply a very good thing coming from free and open source software, which is merging of the team and the experience. It is to share the experiences and to share knowledge, and it is easier for everybody to work under this kind of context. Based on that, I want to reuse some of the slides that Frédéric used in the second talk to go to the future work in a LIMF project software engineering philosophy, because Frédéric suggested all of you to search and list in these 7 topics: website, source code, repository, license, documentation, communication channels, and bug and feature request tracking tool, and to apply what you find in this search and list, how to apply it on each of the teams inside our project. Okay, and if you take into account that I suggested you a group of tools that you can use for collaborate and to cooperate in software engineering, then you can have an easier opportunity to decide which of these tools you can use for really impact in the transformation of the way we are doing software engineering now in our project. And at the same time, I want to encourage you, because we can apply the levels of cooperation and collaboration with a very little transformation. And we can say that in our case, we have the team level, we have the partner university levels, and we have the project level. We have the same challenges, and now we need to really understand that if we are if we don't use an ecosystem of these applications to software engineer, we will have a lot of troubles to really manage the critical challenges that we have been talking about in all the presentations. Okay, and therefore I suggest you to think a little bit more in the tools and how to use the tools to really solve and to really attack the challenges. As way of a conclusion, we can say 5 important ideas. The first one, it's that like I said, the current software engineering practices have adopted a large number of principles from openness philosophy in the software development. It is for free and open software philosophy. The second main idea, if we can say that it is a conclusion, is that collaboration and cooperation in software development brings benefits to enjoy, but also, and it is really important to notice that, brings challenges to fight and risk to mitigate. The third main idea is that the project is a context for learning and sharing rather than a place to hide and to compete. And regularly we go for the competition approach rather than to a sharing and a learning collectively approach. Also, that tools are for collaborating, and the most important thing is to save time, effort, storage, risk, and faults. This is the most important things of the tools in software engineering based in a cooperation and collaboration approach. And to be able to do these 4 main ideas, it is important that we can advise that changes in procedures, of course, need changes in mindset and behaviors. Therefore, if we don't change our mindset and our behaviors, it will be very difficult that we really change procedures. Okay, that's my presentation of today. We have a few minutes left for some questions or comments or any of your experiences in case you want to share it with the rest of the participants. Thank you very much for attending these 2 talks. And it is a very general knowledge about collaboration and cooperation, but I think that you can have the doors of collaboration and cooperation in software development open, and then you can go your own in the deeper look of the knowledge I share with you. Thank you very much.
Some questions and remarks? Okay, I don't hear much at the moment. So, first of all, I think it is important to look, and I will open for that my screen. I will share my screen. Yes, I have it done. Is it shared?
Yes.
You see it? Okay, I don't see it on YouTube. There is some. I have the same problem as before, but I will close the session on live streaming then. Okay.